13, overtaking. I'm sure you're going to overtake something one day, right? Or you've been overtaken. So here's what it says. So part A, notwithstanding anything contained in the rules of part B, sections 1 and 2, any vessel overtaking any other vessel, so I'll say that again, any vessel overtaking any other vessel shall keep out of the way of the vessel being overtaken. A vessel shall be deemed to be overtaking when coming up with another vessel from a direction more than 22.5 degrees abaft her beam, that is in such a position that at night you would only be able to see her stern light and none of her side lights. So, whoa, what did I just say? 22.5 degrees abaft the beam, what on earth is that? All right, let's talk about it. Red is the boat being overtaken closer to you. You guys know what your beam is, right? Your beam is straight out to the side, 90 degrees. That's your beam. So if I'm coming up from a direction greater than 22.5 degrees abaft the beam, behind the beam. So let's use our pointer. Our pointer is pointing out at 90 degrees, that's the beam. And 22.5 degrees abaft the beam is pretty much there. All right? I may be 1 or 2 degrees off, but it's close enough. All right, so think about your navigation lights, folks. Think about you've got your red port hand light. You know they have arcs of visibility, and we'll get into that later. Your red port hand light shines from right ahead to a sector 22.5 degrees abaft the beam. You see where this is going? Your green starboard hand light shines from right ahead in a sector to 22.5 degrees abaft the beam. And then what shines across the back part of the boat? Oh, that's your stern light, right? So your stern light shines from 22.5 degrees abaft the beam this side, all the way across to 22.5 degrees abaft the beam that side. That way, I know I'm overtaking if I'm coming up with the other vessel from greater than 22.5 degrees abaft the beam. So in this scenario, blue is clearly, I'll hold it there, blue is clearly coming up to overtake red and therefore must keep out of the way of red, okay? If blue was not coming up from 22.5 degrees abaft the beam, so this line will extend out. Here's blue. Blue came across from this direction, and blue's kind of coming up this way. Blue is not overtaking. This is actually a crossing situation. And in this particular example, red would be obliged to take avoiding action of blue. So it's very important that we keep in mind what actually is an overtaking vessel. Coming up from this sector here is overtaking. Coming up from over there is not overtaking, it's a crossing situation. All right? So part C of Rule 13 talks about any subsequent change in the alteration of the bearing between the two vessels shall not make the overtaking vessel a crossing vessel, which is really what we were just speaking to. So as I've come in up this sector here, I'm blue, I'm overtaking red. This is the 22.5 degrees abaft the beam. Blue has come in from an angle out here which is not much more than 22.5 degrees. He was overtaking. He's come up. He's now overtaken but is not passed and clear, and then he decides to cross over this way to come more on a course like this. Red continues in this direction. So blue was overtaking, now has not fully overtaken but alters course. He does not now become a crossing vessel. So in other words, he could look at red. Blue could now look at red and say, I'm a crossing vessel coming in from red's starboard side, so red should alter course for me in a crossing situation, but in the overtaking situation, that does not apply. So as it says here, the overtaking vessel does not become a crossing vessel within the meaning of the rules and does not get relieved of her duty of keeping clear of the overtaking vessel until she is finally passed and clear. That's what the rule says. Finally passed and clear. If you're not finally passed and clear, you're still overtaking.